Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our friends and family in the Nimble community. This is John Farrar. I'm the CEO of Nimble. And today we've got some special guests with us. I think that we're here on this planet to grow by helping other people grow. And we've got some people to help you grow today. Let's go ahead and let me get that going. First off, our special guest to our Nimble webinar is Brooke Sellas. Say hello to everybody, Brooke.
Hello, everyone.
You know, what I love about you, Brooke, is that you walk the walk and talk the talk. You have built your own brand and built your own business, and now it's become a global brand where you serve a local community through your digital market agency, but also you're out there teaching and preaching with others through who used to be a mentor, Mark Schaefer, and now you're a co-host of that podcast. And so you're really demonstrating to not just other marketing agencies, but other businesses how important your personal brand, your business brand is to growing your business. And I'm excited to hear you share with us how you use Nimble to grow your marketing agency, B Squared Media, better, smarter, faster.
I absolutely super excited. Can't wait. And thanks so much for having me.
You bet. And by the way, there's Brooke's Twitter handle. I'd absolutely follow Brooke and go check out the Marketing Companion podcast and also follow Mark Schaefer. They're both amazing. And then we're going to hear from Michaela Underdahl. Michaela manages too much here at Nimble, but one of the main things she does is she really builds and nurtures our community and our brand. And what I love about you, Michaela, is watching you grow. Michaela joined us almost off the boat from Czech Republic and has grown tremendously, but more importantly, really helped Nimble grow. And I really value and appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to your learnings and teachings that you share with us today. And again, Michaela is also a great person to follow and connect with on social media. Say hi to everybody, Michaela.
Oh, thank you so much, John. And hello, everybody. So happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing what I've learned and what I've been doing here with you later today.
And then my name's John Ferrara. I'm a relationship guy. I learned it from my dad. My dad was the #1 Lincoln Mercury guy in the country back in the 50s, the first Subaru dealership in the country in the 70s, actually in California. And I vowed that I'd never be in sales. So I followed my uncle John, who helped invent radar and microwave at MIT, and I studied computer science, but I fell into creating relationship management systems because I had a need. I struggled with building and managing relationships, and I founded a company called Goldmine, which basically in the DOS days, those that know what DOS is, because I struggled, and Goldmine was Outlook and Salesforce combined before either existed. Lucky enough to sell that when I was 40, spent 10 years raising 3 kids. And I got back into business building Nimble because I think that relationships are really becoming more critical. I think we're going through a renaissance in relationships, and we're going to talk about that. So today, we're going to learn about the value of your brand, the value of your network, the importance of nurturing and networking, and what the meaning of that is, and how to do it. And we're going to learn from some really great people. But to start, let's talk about how the world's changing around us so radically today. Every minute of every day, we're overconnected and overcommunicated. And why are we doing that? Why do we feed the beasts of our phone and social and engagement? What's our purpose on this planet? I think that our purpose on this planet is to grow our souls, and we do that best by helping other people grow their souls. And you do that by connecting and being present with other human beings. And I challenge you all right now, go Google yourself. Do you show up on the first page at all? And if you don't, work on that. Build an avatar, put in a bio across the places where your customers, prospects, and ideally their influencers are having conversations, because you need to set yourself up as a trusted advisor to be part of those conversations. Because out of sight is out of mind, and out of mind is out of money, honey, as my mentor, Mae West, who not only was an actress, but an entrepreneur as well. So why do we go out there and build our brand and network and connect? It's to build relationships. And what are relationships? They're not LinkedIn connections. They're people that you're truly connected to, where you've learned enough about them and their business and connected with them deep enough where you've earned their intimacy and trust. And the whole purpose of that is to help them grow, because I think that's our purpose in life. And if you do that, you will build a gold mine. But how do you do that? How do you connect with other people? In the old days, I did that by going in somebody's office and looking at their walls. I taught my salespeople, you have to find ways to connect. I call it the 5 F's of life. Family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship are the softer sides of life that you connect on those commonalities in order to break the ice, in order to get people to open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional, you could then solve. Today, we're doing that electronically, and it's just the first wave of a huge change of the way that we will work, play, buy, and sell. And so I have a simple philosophy on that. I call it the if you teach people to fish, they'll figure out yourself fishing poles. That is my formula of life. Stop talking about yourself. Stop talking about your products. Nobody cares. People don't buy great products. They buy better versions of themselves. You need to sell people a better version of themselves, and you do that by giving your knowledge away. You have forgotten more about your products and services than your prospects and customers will ever know in their life. And if you just give your knowledge away on a daily basis, then you will become a trusted advisor. You will be top of mind. And when people need your products and services, they'll not only pick up the phone and call you, but they'll drag their friends with them. And I call that the 5 E's of social business. You have to educate, enchant, engage, embrace in order to empower your customers. And so with that, I'm going to just briefly share with you how I do that personally. So whether you're using G Suite, Gmail, or Office 365, today your contacts aren't connected to the conversations that you're having or the activities that you're driving. So email, contact, and calendar are 3 separate apps. And not only that, but your business tools that you use, sales, marketing, customer service, and accounting, and the social that you use are all siloed islands of information. So every team member in your company has a separate contact database in Office and G Suite, and then you have separate contact records and data in your accounting and in your business tools. And that's the reason why you feel so disconnected as a team or as an individual, because you're switching between all those different places. And so what Nimble does is Nimble will automagically unify all those disparate contacts into a singular platform, enrich them with people and company data, and then let you work with them back where you work. There's a really sad fact. There's 225 million global businesses. Less than 1% use any CRM. Most people's CRM is there's their inbox, spreadsheet, or Post-it notes. And so what Nimble does is it unifies your contacts into the singular platform and then enriches it with the people and company data that you need. So you don't have to Google people, you Nimble them. Synchronizes every interaction that you and the team have on email, calendar, and social, and then you do the basics, the communication, the login notes, the activities, etc. Of course, we have the ability to manage your deals and all that extra stuff like our Today page, which is where I start my day and I end my day. These are my business signals that I engage with. And then once I start my day, I might go out and engage in different places. I might open up an email. And when I do open up an email, and I look at this person, Hannibal, I know who Hannibal is because Nimble tells me who Hannibal is and gives me Hannibal's background. I know the history of interactions that the team and I have had on email, calendar, and social. And most importantly, I can follow up and follow through because that's where we all fail. It's the basics that wins games. And most emails require me to do something or for me to ask the team member to do something where I could delegate an activity to a team member. And I don't do that. A lot of people don't do that because they have to go to their CRM to do that. And that's why Nimble is so great, because it's the first CRM that works for you by building itself and then works with you wherever you work. And by the way, please ask questions. I failed to mention that in the beginning. I know that Taylor did, but please ask questions in the question box. We're going to compile all of those and answer them at the end. And so I not only live in my inbox, but I also live in social. And so what I do on a daily basis is I share content. I give my knowledge away. and then basically people then connect with me. But I not only share information about how other people can become better, smarter, faster in and around the areas of promise of our products and services, but I'll also share a little bit of my heart and soul, because I think that you need to roll up your sleeves and open up your heart to share your commonalities with other people and your passions. And so where do I find all this content to do that? Well, what I typically do is I'll go and look for a person that I admire and respect, and I would then go ahead and share their content or see who they are connecting with in order to find other people to connect with. And so if I wanted to find other interesting marketing people, there are lists on those people, and I can go ahead and find those lists and build them, or I could use a tool. And a tool I recommend using is something called BuzzSumo. And so BuzzSumo enables you to look for content or influencers that have high reach and relevance in and around your areas of promise of your product. So I could type in wine or voiceover or whatever in here, and then I'd find content that I could then go ahead and share. And I use tools like Buffer to share those things. And so when I find an article, and let's just go ahead and pick up an article here. I find an article that I want to share, and typically I like to share 3/4 of other people's stuff than my stuff. Then when I want to share it, I just use the Buffer tool, and I don't have it turned on in my Chrome tab here, but there's a button that basically will allow me to share that. And then it goes into a queue where it's able to be shared. And then what I do is I listen for those signals. And I could either use a tool like TweetDeck or other things like that to listen to those signals. And then what I use is I use Nimble to reel those people out of those signals and bring them into my Nimble database, where I can then tag them and engage with them. And by doing that, by sharing content on a daily basis, I drive interactions and engagement. And here's an example of an engagement, because I think that engagement starts in a softer place like Twitter, and then it moves into a firmer place like LinkedIn, and ultimately to a calendar appointment, and ideally to a face-to-face, because I think that the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. And because I share content about the areas of promise for our product, I've become a thought leader in social sales and marketing. And so if you were to go and look at my followers, you'll see that I have a fair amount of followers, and many of them are influencers in social sales and marketing. And so what I do is I drip lures, I drip content about the areas of promise of Nimble, social sales, marketing, CRM, and then people engage with me. And here's an example. So there is this lady who said that CRM isn't about management and control. It's about it's not about command and control. It's about empowering customer-facing business team members. This person named Rand said, bullshit, it is about command and control, and when a sales manager is going to loosen the grip, and isn't this what John's been building and teaching with Nimble? And actually that showed up as a signal on my Today page, where Nimble surfaces the people that I will want to connect with based off the engagement. And so I was able to then go take that connection and turn it into a full-fledged record, where Nimble not only told me that this person was the head of CRM and data at Disney, but it gave me his email. And because of the way he talked about me, it gave me permission to communicate with him. So I was not only able to reply more effectively in the stream of Twitter, but I was able, and add him as a record, but I was able to communicate with him with a basically an email. And that conversation then shifted to email, and then ultimately to LinkedIn, where Nimble follows me through that flow. And then I learned that he not only lives in my town, but his daughter goes to my school. And I asked him to meet for breakfast, because I think the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. And you need to get face-to-face with people. And then he ended up turning into not only a friend, but also a Nimble advocate and a customer. So now you could see that he is an advocate for our brand. And that's the way that you essentially turn your connections into conversations, and relationships into measurable, mutual beneficial outcomes. And with that, Michaela, I'd ask you to, or Brooke, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you to take us to the next place. Here you go.
Alrighty, I think I'm driving now. Does everybody can see my screen okay?
You betcha.
So interestingly enough, WordStream put out a article not too long ago, or what are the biggest challenges that your agency will face this year? And this is for 2019, so the current year that we're in. And as John told you all, I am an agency owner. I own a done-for-you social media management, advertising management, and customer care management agency. And the top three challenges that WordStream said agencies face or agency owners face are getting new clients, retaining new clients, and managing time. And funnily enough, Nimble kind of takes care of those three things for me, because with B Squared Media, not only am I the owner of the agency, I'm also the face of the brand. And so my personal brand, Brooke Sellas, really kind of embodies the B Squared brand. I do share that with my team members and our little mascot, Dude. If you've been to our website, you know who Dude is. He's our little stick figure. But really, everything branding-wise falls on me. And then from another viewpoint, number one, getting new clients. You are talking to the entire sales team for B Squared Media. So not only do I own the company and help manage the accounts that we carry, but I also am responsible for all of our sales. So in the beginning, for me, managing all of that was a lot. We're about to enter our 8th year in business, and I have to say, finding Nimble a couple of years ago changed my life. It changed the way I did business, and it helped me get rid of 1, 2, and 3, those challenges, quite easily. So let's move into my view. So here's a view at the back end. So if you're familiar with Nimble, you'll see that I use the stay in touch feature a lot, as both for personal branding, company branding, and retaining and keeping new customers. So at the top bar there, you can see under contacts, on the left-hand menu, there's a stay in touch button. And you can go through all of the contacts that you have listed inside of Nimble and to decide to stay in touch. So what that kind of looks like, and these are a little bit pixelated. I couldn't go into a live view. I apologize. We have a lot of non-disclosure agreements signed with our clients, so I have to be very careful about what I show. So if this gets messy in any way, just leave us a little question or comment in the box, and we can show you a live view maybe on John's or Michaela's page. But anyhow, you can see that on every contact, they've got this little clock and star. The star is a way to mark someone important. So I can go through and mark my clients important. I can mark my, what I call ground zero people important. So like Christopher Pinn is listed here. You can see my friend Mark Schaefer is listed here. These are important people to me because they bring me a lot of business. So I go through and I mark as important, but the bigger part for me is staying in touch. So when I click on that little green clock, which is the stay in touch button, I get to set the frequency. If you go over here to the left side of the screen, you can see I get to say how often I want to keep up with someone. I can choose quarterly, yearly, monthly, and there's a custom stay in touch feature as well. So I can basically say every day I want to stay in touch with this person. I can set that up however I like. But essentially, this helps me stay on top of not only my most important people, but it kind of takes that important to the next level. It makes sure that I'm keeping in touch with the people who are bringing me business, who are bringing me speaking gigs, who are helping me grow. Megan, as you see there, Megan Conley, she actually owns another social media agency, but she is about 10 years in, I want to say. So she's a few years ahead of me and several dollars ahead of me. And she is just a wonderful mentor for me. So I want to make sure that I'm always keeping in touch with Megan and asking her what's going on in her world, what trends is she seeing. She just helps me stay on top of my game. So, I mean, really, you can use stay in touch however it makes the most sense to you. I'm just here to show you what makes sense for me. I'm not here to tell you what makes the most sense for you, but I do think they're little golden nuggets that you can take back and build in your own unique way. And then green versus red, which you can see the second to the left tag here. So when these clocks are green, that means that you've done your job. You have stayed in touch with that person inside of whatever frequency that you set. If that clock turns red, it means that you missed a catch up with someone. So I can just see in a glance with a color that I have missed catching up with someone, and then I know that that day, this is my process, that day, the day I see a clock red, I make sure that I reach out and stay in touch with my very important stay in touch people. The second way that I use Nimble is through pipelines. And I cannot tell you how much I love using pipelines through Nimble because, as I said, I am the only salesperson on the B Squared team. So I'm responsible for not only making sure that we have our current clients renew, but making sure that we bring in enough new business to continue to grow and to support my team. So it's very important to me to have a handle on what's happening inside of my pipeline. So you can kind of get a look at pipelines here. At the top menu of Nimble, you'll go to deals and you'll choose which pipeline you have. You may only have one pipeline. I'm actually going to show you two pipelines that I have today. One is called opportunities. These are all actually sales deals that I have in my pipeline, meaning deals that I have to make money. And then I also have a pipeline for speaking, because when I go out and I speak on stage, what happens as a keynote speaker is that you oftentimes get a lot of deals in your opportunities pipeline. So I'm going to kind of show you how both of those work, but you can build your own pipeline, set it up however you want. I am of the mindset that things should be very simple. I do not like when things get complicated. So the pipeline that I built out for myself only has 6 areas. And you can see over here to the far left, I have prospecting. This is when it's not really even quite a lead yet, but there's some tingling there with my spidey senses. Something happened out in the social sphere. Mark or John or one of my very important stay in touch people said, like, hey, I have this person that you may want to talk to. This is, not a strong likelihood this will go through, but this is something I want to keep my eye on. So I'll put it into prospecting. And for the most part, prospecting doesn't usually have money for me unless I know already enough details as to what it is. So like you can see this one that says customer care and the first one that says white labeled through Mark. These do not have prices because I'm just prospecting. I haven't really gotten that far. This listening and premium analytics 12 months, this is actually for an upsell for a client, so I knew the pricing on that one. So, but normally prospecting, you won't see a number up here. But what is nice in Nimble is that right there in a glance, again, my time is extremely crunched every day, as I'm sure yours is too. So I love that at a glance, I can see, okay, in prospecting, I have about $26,000. In proposals sent, I have about $25,000. And in follow-up, I've got almost $180,000. So that I know in a glance, based on my numbers and what I need to hit each quarter and yearly, that I'm looking good as far as the numbers that I need to hit. I know when I'm low, I know when I'm high, I know when I need to kick my butt and start reaching out to some people. So I just love that in a glance, it saves me so much time. And again, I built this pipeline out to be very simple. So it's prospecting, free consultation. So once we move from this, I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, we go into a free consultation. I give everyone a free 30-minute consultation because that's the kind of business owner I am. Yours may be a free demo. It may be a trial, like Nimble. You could trial Nimble, which you definitely should if you haven't. So that this, again, would be your own pipeline, but that second stage is whatever it is that leads to the sale. So for me, it's the free consultation. And after that free consultation, if we feel good, if we're in line with budget, they like me as a partner, I can deliver what they want, and I have a good feeling about them, I'm going to deliver them that proposal based on what they asked for. I'm going to outline the scope of work. I'm going to outline what it's going to cost them. I'm going to outline the terms and all of those other fun things. And then I'm going to send the proposal. Once I send that proposal, they stay in proposal sent until I send them a follow-up email. So for me, my process is sending that proposal, waiting 1 week, and then sending a follow-up email that's like, hey, did you get the proposal I sent over last week on Tuesday? Would love a chance to jump on the phone with you again and discuss any questions you have. Once I send out that first touch email, they go into follow-up. So that's the difference between proposal sent and follow-up for me. Once they're in follow-up, they get 3 more chances. I play like baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. I will do 3 more follow-ups through phone or email to try to close that deal. If they don't close, but they are still actively talking with me, I'll move them to, which you can't see, it's cut off a little bit here, the holding pattern. So when they're in the holding pattern, it means maybe like they're an enterprise size company, so things just take extra long, or maybe they're still trying to work it out. I just wanted to give myself a little area to say like, hey, I did do my job. I did all of the follow-up. I played baseball. They struck out 3 times, but they're still interested, so I don't want to give up just yet. If they're not following up with me, and they strike out, I move them to 6, which is closed or results. So when you move to the closed and results stage, I'll just move over to my speaking pipeline. You can basically, through Nimble, say they closed, they didn't close, and then why. And I always make it required that I say why. Why did they close? Why didn't they close? Because I go and I look at those reports once a quarter, so that if I can see that they didn't close because we didn't offer something, that's something for me to think about. Should I offer this thing that a bunch of people are asking for? Or if they didn't close because it was too much money, should I consider lowering my prices? That's not generally the way we go, but it's something to consider. Or maybe we're too high on a certain line item and we can come down a little bit. So again, I would just say, you know, the pipeline area, if you're on sales or even marketing, is so good. And again, just really quickly going back, so it's deals up here at the top menu. Your pipeline, you're going to choose which pipeline if you have more than one. And then under owned by, I have it just set for me, but you may have a whole team. So you can look at your whole team or just yourself. And I'm looking at active. As well, I like to look at the pipeline layout, but there is a list layout, which would just list them out for you. I like the pipeline. I like to see it like all active and pretty in the buckets. So moving on to my speaking pipeline, again, you can see I went to deals. I moved my pipeline to speaking. It's owned by me. There is no one else, unfortunately. It's just me. And I'm looking at active and I'm looking at the pipeline layout. So for speaking, again, I have prospecting, consultation, meeting. This means we've chatted. We've said, hey, you know, I want you to be a part of this speaking gig, or I want you to be a part of my podcast, or I'd like you to do this webinar. And once we kind of go through that meeting, we go into follow-up. And this is where I could generally know, like, hey, we are going to pay you XYZ to speak at our event, or this is a free event, you're not getting paid, which again, I'll just say, for me, I weigh it out. I do get paid to do speaking, but there's some opportunities where, I'll give you an example. This lunch and learn that's over here, you can see it's a smaller amount. It's $1,000 versus $3,000, but it's a lunch and learn for a room full of entrepreneurs. There's 12 entrepreneurs in this mastermind, and they want me to come present on content marketing and artificial intelligence. Granted, it's less than I would normally get, but hello, I'm the only salesperson, and they're inviting me to come speak to a room full of entrepreneurs who are actually pretty local. They're in the state right next door in Pennsylvania. So I'm okay with that. So again, it's not necessarily, speaking is a little different than my sales pipeline because it's not about money per se. It's more about exposure, but the money helps. So, and my pipeline, again, very simple for speaking: prospecting, consultation, follow-up, close, meaning I'm on stage. And then typically the way speaking works is I actually get paid after the event. So after I close the event and I've done the speaking gig, I'll move this over into send invoice so that I can remember, because I also do all of my own invoicing. My husband helps, so I'll give him a shout out. But I want to remember to go ahead and get paid for those jobs that I am getting paid for. So this, with that whole getting new clients thing, makes things so simple, because once again, in a glance, shifting through on a couple of screens through Nimble in like 3 clicks, going back to my sales pipeline, I know exactly how much I have sitting in my pipeline. So in this particular screenshot, I have over 200,000 in there. I'm gonna feel good about that. If I went in there and I saw that I had $2,000 sitting in my pipeline, I would probably go into panic mode and start figuring out how I could make sure that I'm beefing up my pipeline, because you know, this is all going to be dependent on your close ratio, but my close ratio fluctuates anywhere from like 40 to 60%. So I'm not going to close all of these deals. I'm going to close somewhere between 40 to 60% of these deals. So I know, again, based on my own processes and myself, how to go in here at a glance and understand if I need to pick things up or if I'm comfortable to kind of sit where I am and relax. Retaining clients. So, again, looking at contacts, I've gone through and I've listed everyone that I have as a client inside of Nimble. So the company's in there, all of the people who I talk to within that company are listed inside of Nimble as contacts, and then all of the companies and people inside of that company are tagged as a client. So Nimble has this great thing where you can create tags. You could also create segments if you wanted to. I particularly like to use tags. So then all I have to do when I go into Nimble is pull up all of my clients, and I can pull up a list of all of my clients right inside of Nimble. Some are important, some have to stay in touch. And then I do the same thing on speaking. So again, under contacts, anyone who I come across who is a company or a person who has any sort of to do with a speaking opportunity, I made this little speaking opportunity tag. And so as I tag people with speaking, under lead type, which I've also built out, which is customizable, basically everything's customizable inside of Nimble. So I'm kind of going over my process here, but your process can work just the same way. You set it up for what makes the most sense for you. So for me, what makes the most sense is to make sure that all of my clients are labeled inside of Nimble, that I star the important ones, I stay in touch with certain ones, and then all of my conversations that happen with those clients, which John showed you earlier, get filtered into Nimble because I use Office 365 and Nimble connects to Office 365. So I'm not having to scramble to move things around. Anytime I email a client, it's in there. If I have a conversation on the phone with a client, I can create that through an activity inside of Nimble. Same thing with the speaking opportunities. I want to keep on top of the speaking opportunities I have in front of me, because as I start to speak more and more, I want to be able to proactively see what is in my pipeline. So I'll run back to that screen real fast. What's happening in my pipeline? Is it there? And if it is, I'm going to go pull up all of these people with the tag speaking opportunities, and I'm going to make it a point to put some stay in touch parameters on these people so that I can continuously reach out and be like, hey, saw that you have a new podcast for social media marketing world. I would love to be a part of that. Tell me what I need to do to get on board. And that would be Phil that I would email. Or Andy. I recently spoke at Andy Crestadina's Content Jam in Chicago. He also does a podcast. I might want to reach out to Andy and be like, hey, I had such a great time speaking at Content Jam. Is there any way I could get on a webinar with you or on your podcast? That's what I'm saying. And this hopefully is creating the picture of how everything kind of works together inside of Nimble to make you the best brand you can be and to really make sure you're front and center at all times. And then lastly, managing my time is great. So you can see I took this screenshot of my home page on Nimble on Tuesday, November 12th. And it's kind of got everything sitting right in front of me that I need. You can, again, customize this right within your dashboard. And you can see if you've got an overdue task, which I left this task overdue so you can see it here, right here under tasks on this right box. I was supposed to make a call the day before and I didn't, so it turned red. So again, at a glance, within seconds, I know I forgot to do something, so I can go through and check that off. Also, if I wanted to create a task, if I wanted to remind myself, maybe someone of you is going to ask an amazing question today on the webinar, I can run into my today, create a task really quickly to follow up with John or to follow up with you directly to make sure that I answer that question, because my time is so important and so is yours. That's all we really have, right, is our time and experience and expertise. So we want to spend it wisely. And for me, that means to constantly be out there looking for people to build relationships with, because all of those relationships lead to all of the things that I need personally, but also professionally. And Nimble helps me do that all in one place for not a crazy amount of money. So going into a deeper look of managing my time, if I were to dig into my completed tasks, so again, if I go back, this says my open tasks inside of this little task box on the right. If I were to go into my completed tasks through that menu toggle, I can see all of the tasks that I have completed and when. And you'll see here number 2, the one that I have highlighted, there was somebody who kind of fell out of my pipeline. She had gotten that strike 3 because she hadn't really responded within 3 messages. Well, she ended up coming back. I had sent her this email on November 6th, which I always document everything, and it pulls right into Nimble from email as well. Hey, I haven't heard from you, so I'm going to move you out of my pipeline. So I removed her from my pipeline. I made sure that that task was completed, and actually what ended up happening, if you open up her deal inside of the pipeline, this is what Ellen's deal looks like. You can see 1, 2, 3 moving up from the bottom to top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 These are all of the follow-ups that I sent and had with her. And I actually removed the deal, why this deal was lost. I put MIA, which means missing in action for me. It means I sent all of those follow-ups. I never heard back. But after I moved her out on November 12th, so about a week later, she came back. And this is her email, which I went and popped in as a note. Thank you for reaching out. Yes, I've been in a holding pattern, but she's still in there. So I got to reopen her deal, put it back in my pipeline. But everything here is documented. I cannot tell you how important that is as an entrepreneur, salesperson, brand person, marketing person, to be organized and on top of things. So I would just say to you that if you're trying out Nimble or you're using Nimble, the way that I use it and the way it works for me and why it's made me so much more successful at my job is that I'm a performance marketer. I know my numbers inside and out, and that means that in a glance, I can see where I'm at numbers-wise, where I'm at prospecting-wise, who I need to be keeping in contact with, and if I need to kick my butt and get out there and make some more of those connections, I can use those tagging systems to help make sure I stay on top of people. I set goals for myself, and I also know my baselines. So you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. So I would encourage you to start setting up baselines through Nimble if you are just getting started, and then use those baselines to set goals. You may not know today how much you should have in your pipeline at a glance at any given time, but I promise you, if you set those baselines and you set goals, you'll start to figure that out very easily, and it will just help you move faster and save time. Follow-up is key. I think this is probably, or should be, very well known, but it's totally key. And Nimble helps me make sure that I follow up with all of my key people. And then experience should be omnipresent. So, it seems really simple when I break it down the way it is, because again, I like simple processes, but at the end of the day, it's all about that relationship, like John said. So I'm using Nimble as a way to almost be my personal assistant and help me follow up and set goals and be a performance marketer. But at the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that that experience that I'm giving to any of those prospects or clients is top notch. And when you're organized because of Nimble, you can do that very easily. So with that,
hello everybody. My name is Michaela Underdahl, and for the almost past 6 years, I have been building and nurturing our Nimble community by using influencer marketing. I'm really excited to be here today to share the process with you. If you have any question during my session, please type it in the question box and let me know. So the word community can sound a little vague, so I wanted to spend a few more minutes talking about who are the people that we consider members of our community. So we haven't traditionally spent a lot of money on advertising here at Nimble. We have been heavily utilizing influencer marketing. And at the beginning of this strategy, we basically sit down and figure out what are the areas around the promise of our product, as John always says. So in our case, it was sales, marketing, social selling, technology, entrepreneurship, and all that. Once we had that, then we created a list of all the different types of the influencers that we want to identify and go after, basically. So essentially, we want our customers to be hearing about us from all the different places, from podcasts. We want them to read about Nimble from the outlets they read, to read about us on the blogs they read from their favorite influencers, hear about Nimble from the stage when speakers when they attend a conference. So some of the groups that we're focusing on are analysts, bloggers, influencers, journalists, and podcasters. And I also want to tell you how you might be able to identify the influencer. So if you're just getting started, maybe you don't have a huge budget to spend on like a fancy influencer discovery tool, I want to show you how I've been actually doing it mostly for free, because there's a big chance that somebody already created a great list of these influencers. I bet that if you just type it into Google, like top 50 marketing influencers or real estate influencers, there's somebody that has already created such lists. So you can easily use the Nimble's browser extension to go and hover over the names of the people and bring them into your Nimble database and then put them on the nurture track. I also love Twitter lists. So if you're a Twitter user, you probably know about them because they're an amazing way how you can get through the noise there, because as you know, Twitter can be a really, really noisy place. So I really recommend, like, once you identify some influencers, I recommend going onto their profile and checking out what Twitter list they're part of, what Twitter list they curated. And then you might be able to just bring the people that you identified as influencers that you might want to be building relationship with into Nimble one by one. Or we actually have a bulk import feature, which I'll show you in a few seconds. Another amazing resource and way to identify influencers are conference lists. So if I would even recommend writing down the top conferences in your industry and then going onto the conferences website. And there's always a section that says speakers. So you can quickly go through the list of the speakers and, do the same process. Same with online conferences or online summits. These companies that, put these summits together, they always have a list of all the people that are speaking at that conference. So another amazing resource how to identify influencers. And then if you do have some money to throw at some tools, I would recommend Basumo that John already mentioned. And we've also had success with Lilbird. And on top of that, once you've already done a little bit of work, once you've already identified some influencers, I want to show you how I've been successfully mining my existing network for more influencers. So I always recommend taking a look at the posts of the influencers you already have in your network. Who are they talking to? Who's liking their content, who's commenting on it, and who are they hanging out with when they go to a conference, or who are they doing LinkedIn lives or podcasts with, who's inviting them to be a guest on their podcast. And like once you already have them in your network, maybe you are connected on LinkedIn or even Facebook or Instagram, you'll see who they hang out with when they go to conferences. So people tend to hang out with people like them, so that can be a really great opportunity for you to find more people like those people that you've already identified as influencers that are a good fit for your brand. And then once you identify them, I definitely recommend always writing down a goal for each of them. So for some, it might be like a paid opportunity. Maybe you'll do some kind of a paid collaboration. Maybe you just want to do a webinar with them, or maybe it's enough for you to get on their podcast or get your CEO on their podcast. Another tip I have for you is to use a social media scheduling tool. John mentioned Hootsuite and Buffer earlier in his session. Those are an amazing tools that can really help you to get on an influencer's radar, because the easiest way to get noticed by somebody is to get interested by them. And all influencers produce some kind of a content. So if you start reading their blogs, if you start listening to their podcast and then share it with, your own 2 cents and tag them in it, it's very possible, and in most cases it actually happens, they eventually start engaging back with you. So using some kind of a social media tool, I would say, is a must. And there are also free tools, or like free versions, especially if you don't have 10 plus social media accounts you need to connect. I think you can even use one of these for free. And then once you are already working on the relationship, always look the next step. What is the next step? Do you need to do more research? Do you need to read their blog? Do you need to do more engagement? Do you need somebody on your team to help you do that? And if you're using Nimble or any other CRM, there's always a feature that you can use to help you remind you what the next step is and when is it due. You can also use Nimble to set up stay in touch reminders. So that really helps you to stay in touch with people that you've already developed a relationship with, but you just want to, stay in touch with them on a regular basis. And before you even reach out to new people, it's always necessary to kind of do a little audit and see and figure out, is it the right time to reach out with the ask, or do you need more time? Do you need to do more engagement and get more familiar before you do the actual ask? And after you do the ask, after you have worked together, always continue to engage, always continue to support them. Look for opportunities to help them. If they're launching a book, offer to you can buy it and write a review, or help them share it with your community. And you can even, if there's an option for you, you can even offer to do a webinar with them, promote it in your newsletter, or help them any way you can. And follow up in regards to anything. If you've asked to be on their podcast, if you ask them to do a webinar with them, and maybe you haven't heard back from them, it's very likely that they're just busy. So definitely recommend sending 2, 3, 4, even 5 follow-ups. And as you saw in Brooke's presentation, it does pay off to stay on top of things, stay organized, and to follow up. And once you do something with them, like a webinar or some kind of a paid collaboration, always say thank you. Go out of your way to even send a handwritten note or send a gift. You can send flowers, or if you know that the person you just work with is into wine, you can pick a nice bottle of wine. And it really, really pays off to try to go above and beyond, and even do a little bit of research. So if you're not sure what is it that they would appreciate, go check out their social media. If they haven't, people tend to share a little more personal stuff on like their Instagram. So if they have an open Instagram profile, I would recommend going on there and seeing what is it like. Do they like to eat out? Do they like sushi? Or do they, I don't know, do they love horses? And then you could tailor the gift to something that they'll really appreciate. You can even, send company swag. Most people enjoy getting some kind of a swag. And when I was talking about going above and beyond, make sure that if that information is publicly available, if they list it on their social media profiles, or if they tell you, just keep track of, when people's birthdays are, and just send them a message or send them an email, give them a call, or even send something out. I've even had many of our customers send me gifts when my daughter was born. So that was an amazing touch, and I'll love them forever for it. Now I wanted to spend a few more minutes talking about how you can successfully outreach to people at scale. So the crucial thing is to be organized. So every time you bring a contact into Nimble, put a tag on them or create custom fields. And then once you have some of these groups created, you can also create safe segments, which really helps you to stay organized and save a lot of time because you don't have to repeat the searches. So those are really useful. And then you can use these pre-created groups to easily outreach to them. And I am, of course, using Nimble's group messaging. So the way it works is that the message still goes out from your email provider. So if I really take time to create a targeted group of people, if everybody in the group of people has the same interests or operates in the same industry, I can really tailor the message so it actually applies to all of them. And then we've seen some incredible open rates. And with Nimble's group messaging, you can also see when people open, how many times. If you included a link, you can see if they clicked it, and if so, then. And I also want to show you how I have been using the pipeline tool inside of Nimble to manage some public relations opportunities. Brooke already went through her process using pipelines, and we also use it to track speaking opportunities. So I'll show you how we have it set up during the screen share part of my presentation. And I also want to mention that when you use custom fields inside of Nimble, that can really help you to report on your success, your community nurturing, and like your public relations activities. So you can use it you can create custom fields like blog or article, and then you can easily pull it up and see how many articles have been written about you in a specific year, or how. At the beginning of my session, I was telling you about all the different places that you can use to identify influencers for free. So this is one example I mentioned. This is Agora Pulse's online summit. And of course, they have a section with speakers. And what I have been doing is just going through the list of speakers and either highlighting or just hovering over the names of the people. And as you can see, Nimble's in the background helping you to find other social profiles of the person, so you can easily add them to Nimble. And then I really recommend always schedule. Once you have this record for the person, you can star them as important. You can set up a stay in touch reminder, so you can have Nimble remind you to share his content, reach out to him on a regular basis, like every 2 weeks, for instance. If there's something that you read about him in his bio that you would want to make sure that you always have it on his contact record and your team members can easily access it, like he just launched a new podcast, so maybe you want to have this piece of information in there and make sure that you maybe reach out to him once he does launch the podcast and ask if he'd like to interview you, or if he'd want to interview your CEO or anybody from your upper management. You can also schedule the next steps here, so you don't even have to leave the place where you're working. You can do it straight from where you are. So whatever it is, if it's a call or if it's a calendar event, if maybe you just communicated together and he told you that, yeah, let's have a phone call next week, you can easily schedule it here. So that was like an online summit. So another great place to find new influencers are conference websites. So as you can see, Social Fresh put up a list of the speakers that are speaking at their conference as well. So you can just quickly go through these people. And with the updated Nimble extension that I'm using, as you can see, you can even highlight multiple people at once. And if anybody's listening who's interested in beta testing, just email us at care@nimble.com and we'll set you up. So if you've used the previous version, you see that that you could just hover over one name and then we would show you their contact record. But with the updated version, you can actually really, really successfully use it for prospecting. And it saves you a lot of time because you can just highlight all these people and they'll basically be saved on the main page here. And then you can go through them, see if there's somebody that you would want to add to your Nimble database, and maybe they're not the right fit. Maybe they're in finance and you're in healthcare. So then you would just move on. But it's a really nice addition that you can highlight multiple people at once. And then once they're added, you could actually really easily tag them and put them into Nimble under one tag. So the entire list that you just created, you could add to Nimble in one click. I also mentioned Twitter lists. So for example, here we are on Social Media Examiner's Twitter, and I know that they are putting a conference on every year. It's called Social Media Marketing World. And I wanted to see if maybe they already created a list of the speakers at the conference next year. And sure enough, they did. So again, I can quickly go through the list of the members and see who I don't know yet, who from these people I might want to be building a relationship with. And again, I can use the extension to help me prospect these people, add them to Nimble, put a tag on them. If I'm using any custom fields, I can easily fill that field and so on. So another resource I mentioned were the top lists. So this is Top Rank Marketing. They are known for putting up great lists of influencers. So this really can help you to save money and time, because you don't have to pay for a fancy tool, because they are probably paying for it to come up with this amazing list of people. So then you can just go through it and see who these people are, if there's somebody you want to build a relationship with and do something with. So this is how easy it is to prospect people with the extension. I also mentioned how I have been mining my own network for more gold. So what I meant by that is that, okay, so for example, let's find somebody that I'm already connected with. So here's Bernadette. And I know she's an amazing speaker and sales trainer. And this is actually a category of people that we're really focusing on. So I might want to see who the people that are liking what she's publishing are. And then again, I can just take a look at who they are hover over them. Nimble will help me find more information about them. See how easy it is to find their Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Then I can even pick a photo to make the profile nice and clean. And again, I could easily add a note. I could note how I found them. Could edit the contact record if maybe I'm having an interaction with them. They tell me their email, or if they tell me their phone number, I can quickly edit from here. And you can do the same thing with the people that are commenting on their content. So I can go back on this extension and I can hover over Alice's name. And for Nimble users, one really great thing about the new updated browser extension that John mentioned that we will be calling Nimble Prospector is that we will automatically be looking for duplicates. So as you can see, I hovered over Alice, but it looks like I already have Alice in my database. So I could merge her straight from here, and it would suggest me the primary contact record. So I'm going to pick this one because it looks like the one that has the most information, or also have a picture for her. So just like that, I can make sure that I'm not adding any duplicate contacts into Nimble, and it's nice, clean, and organized. And here we are in our Nimble database, and I want to show you, I was talking about creating custom fields for your influencer program or community building or personal branding or your PR outreach. So in Nimble, under data fields, you get to create up to 5 custom tabs, and then under each tab, there's probably, the limit's probably over 100 individual custom fields. So whatever the information is that you want to put on the contact record specific to the program, you might just add in here. So I have a bunch of custom fields related to influencer program and also press. So it depends on who we identify the person as. So this person, Tim, is an influencer. So his information is going to be under the influencer program tab. One of the custom fields that I created for our team is an account owner. So once you grow your community and maybe you grow your team as well, you might need several team members to make sure that you are staying in touch with all these people on a regular basis. So I created this custom field. We can quickly select the person that will be the account owner or responsible for the relationship with this person. One piece of information that I definitely want to have in my Nimble database about Tim is his blog, because we want to be able to quickly go through all the blogs of our influencers, make sure we are staying in touch, and we're always using their content to share on our social media profiles as well. So the same thing we do with RSS feeds, because we use a tool that helps us to bulk curate content from RSS feeds. And I also want to know if he's a Nimble user and what type of account he has. And we do offer our influencers a free year of Nimble. So I want to mark that information as well. I can also see when his account expires, and then I can pull up a list of all the accounts that are about to expire in November 2020, and then I can make sure to reach out to these people, see if they need any additional help or anything, or if they have any questions, if I could show them any of our new features, and just make sure that they are still utilizing Nimble and then they're happy with it. So using the custom fields, that's one way of organizing context. And I also love using tags. As you can see, I'm also using tags called Wrote About Nimble and Wrote About Nimble 2019. This gives me the ability to quickly pull up a list of all the articles that have been written about us, and then I can easily report on it as well. Which brings me to the safe searches that I recommend using. And you can create them by going to the main contacts page inside of Nimble, then clicking on adding segment, and you can literally report on any existing field inside of Nimble, including any custom field. So as you saw, I had the tag influence wrote about Nimble. So as you can see, you can either use the quick filters on top. So for tags, I will use that. And I want to see the list of all the people that wrote about Nimble. And I might even further refine the search by the people I have email for. And I would do is not empty. And I could also further refine the search by the number of followers. So I could do is greater or equal 10,000. And now you see that it's nobody because this is my test account. Just to bring them in, I can change that it matches any here. So now I have a big list of people here. So once you create the save search, you can save it for future. So once you can have saved searches for the VIP customers or the top influencers you're working with, or your evangelists, or your like super happy customers that are always happy to share their great experience with your brand on social media. So I could even name it top clients, save it, and as you can see, it would show up under the main contact. And once you have this group of people, you can quickly send them a group message. So as you can see, I can also select an existing template. I can use the merge tag feature to make sure that Nimble automatically grabs the person's first name to make sure that it looks personalized. I can always use an unsubscribe link as well, but since we're using it for community building, we're familiar with these people, and it's not like a sales outreach, using the unsubscribe link might actually make it look less personal and might be the purpose of using the group messaging that allows you to send a lot of messages through your email provider. But that's definitely an option and something to consider. And as you can see under errors, I have people that I do not have emails for, but you could use our contact discovery feature here to find it. And once you find the contact information, you can save it and they would jump into the recipients list. And once the message has been sent, we give you the insights on the clicks and opens, so you can see when was the last time people opened, how many times, and if you included a link, how many times they clicked the link. And one last thing I wanted to show you today was how I use the pipeline in Nimble to track our public relations initiatives. So as you can see, I named the pipeline public relations, and you know that you can customize all these columns. So the first one, I name initial outreach. So when I initially outreach to somebody, when I send them the first pitch email asking if they would want to have somebody from our company on their podcast or as a speaker, I create a deal and put them in this stage. And then I set the stage for 7 days, and after 7 days it will turn red. I'll get a notification that it's time to do something, and my next step is to follow up with them. So then I have the list of all the people that I'm following up currently in this column. Once they respond to me with a positive response and I'm working on scheduling it, I move them into the scheduling stage. Once that's scheduled, I have them here. And what happens so often, especially with podcast, is that sometimes the podcaster needs to reschedule, sometimes you need to reschedule. So I also have one column here for rescheduling. And with that, I would also like to present our special offer. We would love for all of you to go and check out the Marketing Companion podcast with Brooke Sellas and Mark Schaefer. And we also have a special promo that we're running because Nimble is actually one of the newest sponsors of the podcast. So if you are a new Nimble user, if you're thinking about checking it out, go to nimble.com/companion and see what we have out there for you.
Funny. And dear sweet people, be sure to go ahead and follow Mark. With that, please do connect with our speakers because you could learn a lot from them. And with that, let's go ahead and get into some of these questions. So we talked about Prospector. There were a few questions on Prospector. Prospector is built into Nimble. Every user can access it. I shared an FAQ earlier about Prospector, but basically it's our Chrome plugin, and I don't see the page, but if you just go to our Nimble website and go over here to features, you'll see that there is the ability to work smarter everywhere. And here are all our add-ins and plugins. We have iOS and Android. We have what we used to call Smart Contacts app. We're rebranding to Prospector. And what we used to call Prospector are now enrichment credits. But basically, if you want to install our browser plugin, we have it for Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and Edge. But I use Chrome, and then all you do is you just plug it into Chrome, and then it shows up here. And so when you bring up a record with the Prospector app, then essentially it will automatically enrich that contact with people and company data. That enrichment is free. It's not included as far as the credits. If you want to do more enrichment, like get their phone number, etc., when you click this button, search for info, then it will go and do the search in a deeper way. And if you give Nimble first name, last name, company, domain name, it will give you what we can, which will include at times email, phone number, address, etc. Those are called Prospector credits, and you get 25 of those lookups per user per month. If you want more, I think that they're 10 cents a call, but Michaela or Taylor will share a link within the Q&A that has the details on that. Do you have to incorporate social media tools into Nimble to optimize Nimble? Yes, we highly recommend that you map your social into Nimble. It helps, even if you don't use social yourself, for Nimble to enrich your contacts, because we tap into those APIs to do that enrichment. We used to be able to tap into Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. But now really the most useful one out there is Twitter. And it still provides a lot of functionality. If you want your LinkedIn contacts, you have to go to LinkedIn and export them and then import them into Nimble. Nuts and bolt question, how often should I load my LinkedIn contacts? I load mine about once a month, but it all depends on how much you're prospecting in LinkedIn. If you're prospecting actively daily, you might want to do it weekly. Is there a book, Nimble for Dummies? Not yet. But that actually is a business opportunity for anyone listening who is prolific with Nimble. You know, one of the things we did at Goldmine is we empowered other people to build things like that for us. It enabled the community to contribute and also to make money by adding value to the Nimble community. So I actually encourage somebody to consider that. Nimble Prospector additional costs? No, it's free. It's part of Nimble. But the credits, if you want phone numbers and emails, is extra beyond the first 25. How do I add emails I received to projects? So one of the things that Brooke talked about was our multiple pipelines. And so with Nimble, I can go ahead and have multiple pipelines, like our ambassador program, business development, partners, influencers, public relations. And if you think about sales is sort of you can have a sales pipeline that is pre-project. Then when you close that deal, you can have a project pipeline of implementing that deal. And so really the only difference between a project and a pipeline in most cases is the fact that it's pre-sales or post-sales. And so that's how I'd handle that. When you do add a project to Nimble, any communications that you have with that person or the people linked to the deal, and you can have multiple people linked to the deal, you would then have all communications integrated into there. So Nimble automatically links emails to projects and deals. Proposal management, I like PandaDoc. I don't know if they're still called PandaDoc. Let's see if it's still called PandaDoc. But PandaDoc is a really great tool for creating proposals, and it links with Nimble, and it gives you all kinds of signals on opens and clicks, etc. And with that, we're at 11:04. And I won't be able to answer the bulk of these. I did within the chat box, most of them, but unfortunately I have a conflict that I'll need to jump for. Possibly Michaela and Taylor, if you can answer more of the questions, because it still looks like we have a large audience that are still here. I'd love you guys to be able to do that, but I need to jump to my next call. Unfortunately, I was booked back to back, which isn't a great thing to do when you're on a webinar, because what I love about our webinars is that people are passionate about the information and they love to get more, but unfortunately that did occur. So Michaela, if you could take over from here and answer any remaining questions that that you can, I will see you guys all later.
Sounds good. Taylor, if you can send me the link to, or actually I have it, let me see. So I take a look at the remaining questions. There was also one question. Somebody was asking about how often you should be re-importing your LinkedIn contacts into Nimble. John mentioned that it depends on, of course, how many people you're adding to your network, but you can do it two ways. So if you are like a super connector and you are, allowing hundreds of people into your LinkedIn database on monthly basis, then running the imports on maybe monthly basis might be best idea. And we don't have currently direct LinkedIn integration, but the way it works is that you can always go onto your LinkedIn profile, download a list of your CSV connections and import them into Nimble. All the existing ones will, of course, then merge, so there won't be any duplicates created, so you can run these imports as often as you need. But another thing that I do personally, because I don't connect with that many people, is using Nimble Prospector, the browser extension, to bring people in one by one. So every time I confirm an invitation or somebody confirms my request to connect with them, I just bring up the browser extension, hover over the name, and Nimble helps me to create the contact record so I can easily bring them in one by one and also apply a specific tag to them. So if it's LinkedIn connections, Michaela, I can use an existing tag and easily add them to an existing group in Nimble. Okay, so what are some other questions that we had here? Somebody was asking, organizing your contacts into segmented lists. So I could actually make myself a presenter and show you real quick. I'm going to log into Nimble and show you how to create segments. So when you're in contacts, on the main contacts tab, you'll see essentially the entire list of all your contacts, but that can become really messy. So by clicking on this add segment, you can easily create a group that you want to focus on. So it can be created from any existing field in Nimble or any custom field. So in my case, I am using tags a lot, so I can easily pull up the list of everybody who has written about Nimble in 2019. And I could even further refine the search by asking Nimble just to show me people that I have emails for, or that are CEOs, or have more than 50,000 followers, or any specific things. So if I created any custom fields, I could further refine the search using those. Once I create the field, and I can also focus just on people or just companies, I can always save the search. Well, if I could spell, I can save it, and as you can see, it will be added on the main page under contacts, and I can always quickly find this group of people and start engaging with them. Every time a new contact record fits the criteria that you use to create the group, they will be automatically added. So this will really help you to stay more organized and save you a lot of time. And as John mentioned, Nimble Prospector, the browser extension is included in Nimble. So again, if you don't have it yet, go on nimble.com/widget and you can install it there. Safa's asking, how can I add emails I received to a project I'm working on for keeping record of activity? And I saw another question from somebody asking how you can connect your emails into Nimble. So every time you need to connect something, import any contacts, go and click on the circle in the top right corner, click on Networks and Imports. And under emails, this is where you can easily connect your email. We work with Office 365, G Suite, Gmail, any email as long as it's an IMAP email. So once you connect it here, and then once you import a contact record into Nimble, and you have an email for the person on the contact record, you will be able to quickly see under the tab called Interactions, the entire history of the relationship. So under all, you'll see all the activities, all the notes, all the sales opportunities, all the messages. Once there's a lot that you have done with the specific person, you can go through the individual subtabs. So you can focus just on notes, just on activities, or just specific messages. So I hope that this answers your question, Safa. And there is a question. So there was question for Brooke. I know that John mentioned using PandaDoc. Brooke, is there a software that you use to integrate with Nimble for proposal management?
I don't integrate it through, but the proposal management system that I use is called BidSketch. So BidSketch, BidSketch. And you can connect it through different ways with like PySync if you wanted to. So I have BidSketch connected to QuickBooks. So it's like a different integration that I use, not through Nimble. But if you wanted to try to connect something that wasn't necessarily connected through Nimble natively, you could always use like PySync or Zapier, am I saying it right? There's a lot of different ways you can connect certain applications together. It may just be like a premium connection, which means it would be paid.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And that is actually related. I see Mitch is asking about the pipelines, if they're included. Yes, the pipelines are included in the regular Nimble Business subscription, and you can create as many as you want. As you can see, I created one for public relations here. You can completely customize all the stages here, as Brooke showed as well. So it really depends on the use case that you want to use it for. And somebody also asked if we were showing any third-party integrations. I believe that everything that we have shown on today's webinar were just all the native features of Nimble. But Brooke already mentioned PySync. PySync is a company that we integrate with. They are based in Belgium, and they focus on bidirectional data synchronization. What it means is that if you are using any third-party application for marketing automation, billing, or anything, you can probably sync it with Nimble. So if you're a user, you can go to Networks and Imports and then click on Contacts, and then you can either scroll down through the list of all the things that we integrate with, or you can just type it in. So if you're using MailChimp, you can type it in and see that this PySync box will pop up. The way it works is on rules. So you can create rules like if this contact gets created in MailChimp, then create it in Nimble as well, plus apply this specific tag. So you can use this integration to actually bring your entire MailChimp or database that you might have in any other third-party application into Nimble for free on the free trial. So when you register for PySync, and you can do it directly from inside of Nimble, you get 14 days. And during that 14 days, you can bring all your contacts in. If then you want to keep your databases in sync and you sync less than 2,000 contacts per month, it will remain free. If you want to sync more, then there would be a charge associated with that. So you would have to look at Pricing's website to figure out what it is exactly. But I definitely recommend looking at that and seeing if you can use this to synchronize all the contacts into one place. Bruce is asking, can we connect to Instagram? So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, they don't really allow third-party applications to connect to them, but you can use the browser extension anywhere. So when you're in LinkedIn, Twitter, and even Instagram, but the reason it might work a little worse in Instagram is that Nimble, when you hover over a name, Nimble is reading the name. And with Instagram, people very often don't use their name, but they have like a handle. So you can integrate with Intercom using the browser extension. And Pamela was asking, where did the name Nimble come from? So we'll have to have John answer that in the follow-up email. Do tasks in Nimble integrate with Office 365 to-dos? So we have our native task feature inside of Nimble. So I don't think you can, I'll actually check back with our support on this and we'll get back to you, Justin, after the webinar. Pricing is not included in the membership. Well, it is and it is not. So you can get the 14-day trial, and if you sync less than 2,000 contacts per month, it will remain free. But if you need to sync more, you will have to pay for it. What exactly is a segment? Regina's asking. Great question, Regina. So segment is basically like a search. So if you want to come up with, so Nimble is a CRM database. You bring your contacts in from various different places, LinkedIn, Twitter, your like spreadsheets you're using in your business or other third-party applications. And then you have this big pool of your contacts and you might want to do something with them. So you might want to create groups, segments. So I already showed the example of pulling specific tags. Brooke showed that she's tagging everybody as clients so she can quickly find them. So I also use tags a lot, so then I can quickly come up with targeted groups of people and then do the next step with them. I can apply additional tag to them. I could export it into a CSV file, use it in the meeting, send it to one of my colleagues, or do anything with it. But the use case I use the most is sending them a group message. So Nimble has a built-in group message feature. The way it works is that it actually sends the emails from inside of your email provider. So it doesn't come as like send via Intercom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it comes from your work email. So everybody that's on your list to them, it will look like it will send just to them. They will not know that they are part of an outreach. And on top of that, we also give you the insights on clicks and opens. So you always know when was the last time people opened, how many times they opened, and how many times they clicked. Ray's asking about using MailChimp. So I think maybe this specific question will require a further follow-up, but I already covered that you can use the PySync, MailChimp, and Nimble integration to sync both of these. Paul is asking about using the Outlook extension for Mac and Windows. I believe that it is identical because it plugs in. I believe so, yes. So you can use it on your browser, and then when you're using Outlook, you can go on our website at nimble.com/widget, and then you can download it to your Outlook, and it will plug into both the desktop version and also the web version of it. We do not have an auto tag feature at this point. And pricing has been recently acquired, but we are not aware of any impact to the integration we have as of now. And Bill was saying that he's had issues with importing context from a CSV file. So I think this will also require a little bit more troubleshooting. And I see that you included your email, so thank you so much. We'll make sure that we follow up with you. And Paul is also asking for using the pipelines for project management. So since you can create as many pipelines as you want, this can definitely be used to manage different projects, or if a company has more divisions, we have users that do all kinds of tracking with the pipelines, and then because everybody gets to decide what the individual stages are, I think it can definitely be set up for the thing that you're asking about. Okay, so I think these are all similar to what we have answered, and we are 20 minutes over right now. So what we'll do is that we will type in the answers to all of the questions, and we'll share it with everybody in the follow-up email. So with that, I would like to thank everybody for joining us and staying so overtime with us. I want to reiterate the special offer. Please go and check out the Marketing Companion podcast with Brooke and Mark Schaefer. It's an amazing podcast, and you can also check it out at nimble.com/companion. And if you'd like to connect with any of us on social media, we would love that so very much. So again, thank you so much for being here with us, staying overtime, and I hope that you'll have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Brooke. Bye-bye.
Bye.